My wife's therapist convinced her I was dangerous so her family syndicate could gain control of our kids and assets. So I exposed their fake counselors, forged credentials, and racketeering trail. Now her entire network is facing federal charges, and my children are finally safe. It started with a creak in the porch wood and my uncle's voice saying my name like a warning. "Daniel," he said, standing just inside my cabin door with that old envelope in his hand. "You need to sit down. My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm 43 years old, and I've been a regional wildlife surveyor in northern Arizona for the past 15 years. Most of my life has been about tracking mountain lions and keeping hikers from doing anything stupid near elk herds. I don't stir up drama. I don't even own a TV. But that night, drama came straight to my door. Uncle Mitch was retired from the railroad and not the type to drive 3 hours just to reminisce. He was gray now, slower, and didn't talk unless something needed saying. "What's going on?" I asked, nodding toward the chair. He didn't sit, just pulled a manila envelope from his jacket and tossed it onto the kitchen table. Her name used to be Clara Mirage. Now she calls herself Coach Vega. My stomach dropped. That name, Coach Vega, had become poison over the last 6 months. She was my daughter-in-law's mental performance coach, Mindful Strength, or whatever her brand was. She had accused me, of acting inappropriately toward my own daughter. Her whispers wrecked my reputation, my marriage, my access to my kids. And now here was Uncle Mitch, connecting her to a name I hadn't heard in years. "Wait," I said slowly. "Clara Mirage? That was..." He nodded. "The woman who claimed I fathered her child. In '92. I stared at him. "My uncle, the one who used to sneak me fishing gear when Mom grounded me, had been blackmailed? You said that was a false accusation." "It was," he said, "but I paid her anyway. I was scared. Paid her 10 grand to walk away. And she did, for a while." He opened the envelope and spread out the contents. Grainy photos, wire transfer slips, a fake passport with a younger Clara in a blonde wig, and the name Marlene V. Harrow. "She changed names 4 times, Mitch said. Always reinventing herself, always targeting families with money and vulnerable men. I couldn't stop staring at the passport. There she was, Coach Vega. Younger, smiling, dangerous. And now she's in our family. I muttered. "Not just in it," Mitch said. "She's playing you, just like she played me." Right then, the front door opened, and my mother, Lena, came in like she'd been listening from the woods. "She's done this before," Mom said quietly, placing a hard drive and a folder on the table. 3 states. For aliases. She isolates the kids, undermines the fathers, then positions herself as the savior. I blinked. "You knew?" "I suspected," she said. When Celia started talking like Vega was her spiritual lifeline, I started digging. Inside the folder were screenshots of message boards, background checks, even security footage of Vega at other families' homes, using different names. Lena dropped a thumb drive on top. Surveillance clips. One of her calling your daughter a project. She didn't know the nanny camera was still active. I sat back. My world wasn't just upside down. It had been poisoned, slowly, deliberately, and no one saw it coming. Until now. The drive home felt like sleepwalking. My knuckles ached from gripping the steering wheel. Uncle Mitch's envelope was still on the passenger seat, its edge curling up under the heat. Mom had offered to come with me, but I said no. I needed to see it for myself. And there they were. My wife Celia, our 2 kids, and a police cruiser parked at the curb like some twisted punctuation mark. "Don't," I muttered to myself, heart pounding. Celia stood on the porch with her arms crossed. The kids, Addie and Ben, were next to her, backpacks slung over their small shoulders like they were heading to summer camp, not being pulled from their home. She spotted me and straightened. "Daniel," she called, voice brittle and triumphant. "You can't be here." I stepped out of the truck and took 3 slow steps toward them. "What's going on?" She flinched like I'd shouted. A tall officer stepped between us. "Mr. Mercer, I'm going to need you to stay where you are. There's a no-contact order being processed." "What?" My voice cracked. Celia lifted a piece of paper, some official-looking document printed with big block letters. "You're being removed, pending investigation." "For what?" I was already shaking. What is this?" "It's protective," she said. Coach Vega confirmed everything. She did a full, energetic reading of the house. "The environment is hostile to children." "A reading?" I stared at her, blinking hard. "You're tearing our family apart over some crystal-swinging nonsense." "It's not nonsense," Celia hissed. She felt Addie's energy collapse in your presence. She said it was like an emotional bruise. Addie looked up at her mother, confused. Ben just gripped the handle of his little roller bag like it was a life raft. Behind me, I heard gravel crunch. Uncle Mitch had pulled in. Lena climbed out of the passenger seat and strode toward the porch. "Celia," she called. "You need to stop this right now." "No," Celia's voice turned sharp, almost giddy. "I won't let Daniel hurt our children. Vega said he's emotionally unstable." Lena reached into her purse and pulled out a folder, another one, just like mine. "This woman you're trusting? She's not who she says she is. She's not even licensed." The officer turned slightly toward Celia. "Ma'am, do you have any physical evidence of harm or abuse?" "Not physical," Celia admitted, "but emotional, energetic, spiritual." The officer looked at his partner. They shared a glance, but that didn't stop what came next. A dark gray van pulled up behind the cruiser. A woman in slacks and a plain shirt stepped out, clipboard in hand. Celia Mercer? She asked. We're here for the transfer. And just like that, Addie and Ben were escorted down the porch steps, their small hands in the stranger's grip. Addie, I called, helpless. It's okay. I didn't do anything, baby. She turned once, just once, her face pale and streaked with tears. She pressed her hand to the window of the van as it pulled away. My legs almost buckled. I didn't even feel the cuffs go on until the officer said, You're being detained for questioning, Mr. Mercer. Please don't resist. I didn't. All I could see was that van, and her face in the glass. The clinic was quiet except for the hum of the old fridge in the back room. Lena stood over the counter, arms crossed, staring at the small brown pill bottle like it might spring to life. They were in Celia's purse, she said. Vega labeled them as focus supplements. I had them tested. I picked up the printed lab report she'd brought. It was barely a page long, but the words blurred together. Psychoactive, paranoia-inducing, designed for short-term emotional instability. My wife, my Celia, had been drugged. She's been taking these daily, Lena said. Vega told her they'd help her connect with her inner guardians and stay attuned to family energy. I ran a hand down my face. We gave that woman a key to our lives. She never needed a key, Lena said softly. She used your wife's fear, her doubts, her guilt. There was a knock at the screen door. Uncle Mitch stood there, hat in hand, face pale. She's not doing good, he said. I stopped by the house. She was in the bathroom on the floor, crying about how her blood felt too loud. Then she screamed at me to leave and started digging through the trash. The trash? I asked. She thought she'd thrown the last of the pills away. She was trying to find more. I think she's crashing. I felt something cold settle into my chest. How bad? I asked. She threatened to hurt herself, he said quietly. Said maybe then Vega would come back. We all went still. The room didn't feel safe anymore. Not the kitchen, not the house, not anywhere. I grabbed the car keys from the counter. She needs help, I said. Real help. Before something happens. We have to commit her, Lena said. Just for a while. Just to stabilize her. That won't be easy, Mitch said. Not without her consent. Unless she's a danger to herself or someone else. She already is, I said. To the kids. To herself. She's spiraling. I've got a contact, Mitch added. Friend from the union days, now works security intake at a wellness center upstate. It's private, discreet, legitimate. I hesitated, then nodded. Set it up. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak outside made me jump. I kept seeing her on the bathroom floor, clawing through trash like a raccoon, like a woman lost in a fog that wasn't her fault. But it didn't matter whose fault it was anymore. We had to stop her before something irreversible happened. The next morning, Lena and I drove out together, paperwork in hand. Uncle Mitch followed behind us in his truck. Celia didn't scream. She didn't cry. When the staff approached her, she just looked at me with this distant, disconnected calm and whispered, Don't let them erase my memory. She didn't know who them was. She didn't even know what day it was. As they led her away, I realized the woman I married wasn't behind her eyes anymore. And Vega had done more damage than I ever imagined. The first visitation was supposed to be supervised, structured, safe. I had filled out 3 different forms just to get 15 minutes in a rec room with 2 chairs and a plastic plant. They made me leave my phone in a locker. A counselor stood just outside the half-open door. Celia looked better on the surface. Her hair was clean. She wore soft grays and whites, the neutral recovery tones, as the nurse put it. But her eyes, they weren't right. Too wide, too focused. Daniel, she said brightly, like nothing had ever happened. I brought you coffee. She held out a paper cup, steam curling from the top. I stared at it. Thanks, I said carefully. You didn't have to. She laughed, light, girlish, unnatural. It's just coffee, peace offering. I took the cup and set it on the table between us. Her eyes flicked to it, then back to mine. Too quickly, too deliberately. You look good, she said, sitting down. Tired, but good. I reached for the other cup, hers, and smiled. You mind if we switch? I think they gave you mine. She froze. Just a beat, but it was there. The kind of silence that says everything. Of course, she said finally, her voice a half-second late. Go ahead. We switched cups. I didn't take a sip. She did. 1 swallow. 2. And then her smile broke. Not all at once. Just a little tremor at the corner of her mouth. Her hand twitched. She reached for the edge of the table. Her pupils dilated. She blinked hard. She started. Then she collapsed. I shot up, the chair skidding behind me. Hey, I shouted toward the door. She's down. The counselor was in the room in 2 seconds. A nurse followed. The moment they saw her, they didn't ask questions. They just moved, checking her pulse, calling for the crash cart, lowering her gently to the floor. She was breathing, but shallow, skin clammy, eyes fluttering. The nurse glanced at the cup, then at me. Did she drink this? I nodded. She offered it to me first. Don't leave, she said. We'll need a statement. A toxicology screen showed traces of sedatives, powerful ones. Not in a lethal dose, but mixed with her withdrawal symptoms, it was enough to trigger a collapse. Later that evening, one of the staff members pulled me aside. She looked rattled. She's still under, she whispered. Not just physically, mentally. She was coached to do this. I didn't ask who she meant. We all knew. Coach Vega wasn't gone. She was just watching from somewhere else, waiting. As they wheeled Celia away to be stabilized, I looked down at the untouched cup still sitting on the table. Mine, the one she meant for me. If I hadn't switched them, God, I sat back down, hands shaking. She tried to drug me. In a locked, supervised room. On camera. That's how deep it still ran. This wasn't over. Not even close. I got the text late. It wasn't from Celia, or Vega, or anyone I expected. It was from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. Meet me at 5th and Laredo. I have the video. You'll want to see it. The message came with a photo. Celia, eyes half closed, lips parted, leaning into someone's shoulder. A man I didn't recognize. Blonde, tan, late 30s. The caption read, Energy session, $300 per hour. No refunds. My stomach turned. I showed it to Lena. She sighed and pulled out a manila folder like she'd been expecting this. That's Brett, she said. Vega's son. She calls him a healing practitioner. I call him a parasite. I stared at the grainy printout. She put her own son in our lives? Not just in your lives, she said. In Celia's bed. I drove to the corner of 5th and Laredo with no plan. Brett was already there, leaning against a rented black SUV. He wore white linen pants and no shame. He smiled when he saw me. You're late, he said. I walked right up. You've got 60 seconds. He held up a flash drive. Sessions. Your wife and me. She called them spiritual breakthroughs. Her words, not mine. What do you want? $500,000, he said casually. Or the internet sees what the world looks like when your wife finds her true alignment. You're blackmailing me? I'm offering you freedom, he said. From her, from the scandal. You pay me, and I disappear. It's a fair deal. Before I could answer, I saw Lena's SUV pull in across the lot. She stepped out, calm as ever, holding a folder. You always were a little too eager, Brett, she said as she walked up. Still haven't learned subtlety. Brett's smile cracked. Don't talk to me like you know me. I don't have to, she said. I know your mother, and I know the pattern. She handed me the folder. Inside were DMV records, clinic photos, a fake therapist's license, issued to Bradley V. Rains, Brett's alias. She even had screenshots of him entering school property, my children's school. He filed forged custody documents, Lena said. Claimed to be their temporary guardian. Brett shifted. You can't prove that. She pulled out her phone and played audio. Brett in a school lobby, saying, I'm here to pick up Addie and Ben Mercer. I have full legal guardianship from the mother. My blood went cold. You tried to take my kids? My voice dropped. You walked into their school? Brett turned, but it was too late. Tires squealed. A police cruiser pinned his SUV in, and 2 officers jumped out. Brett backed up, but he wasn't quick enough. They cuffed him right there. Inside his vehicle they found chloroform, rope, and 3 fake IDs. One had Addie's name misspelled. The others were forged custody transfers signed Celia Mercer, in handwriting that looked suspiciously practiced. At the station, Lena handed everything over to Olivia Tan, a federal prosecutor we'd started working with. This is bigger than just Vega, Tan said. This is conspiracy, fraud, racketeering. She looked up at me. We'll need everything you've got. I nodded. You'll have it. As they led Brett away, he glanced over his shoulder and hissed through his teeth. She's not done. Vega's not finished. I believed him. But now, neither were we. The more we dug, the less Coach Vega looked like a lone predator. She had help. Sisters. It started when Lena pulled a thread, an old newsletter from a wellness clinic in Boise, featuring a woman named Vera Mirage, listed as a child-centered life strategist. Different hair, same eyes, same jawline. Then came Celine Mirage, a trauma recovery expert out of Santa Fe, with credentials from a closed-down university and glowing testimonials from clients who didn't exist. The third was Marla, who ran a Resilience Through Reiki group out in Colorado Springs. All used aliases. All used variations of the last name Mirage. They're not aliases, Lena muttered, scanning the registry data. They're sisters. She laid it all out on the table. 3 women, 3 different states, all tied to bankrupt foundations, shell coaching clinics, and quiet settlements swept under non-disclosure agreements. Vega wasn't working alone. She was part of a network, and they all used the same playbook. Infiltrate families through schools, therapy centers, or personal development programs. Isolate the most emotionally fragile member. Build control, then bleed them. They specialize, Lena said. Vega manipulates marriages. Celine worms into children's therapy. Vera recruits through school counselor networks. And Marla handles spiritual manipulation, usually to validate everyone else's lies. My head throbbed. This wasn't just about my kids, or even Celia. This was systemic. And then, she showed up. Celine. She came to my door like she'd lived here 100 times before. Smooth posture, cheap pearls, a clipboard tucked under one arm, and a phony smile on her face. Mr. Mercer, she asked. I'm here on behalf of Child Equilibrium Therapy Group. Celia requested we follow up with the children, especially Addie. I didn't even let her finish. You're not licensed, I said, stepping forward. Her smile flickered. I assure you, I know who you are, I said. Celine Mirage. You've been following families across state lines. Your sister is Vega, the one who drugged my wife and tried to ruin my family. She blinked, just once, then turned and bolted. Lena came around the corner with her phone raised. She'd been recording the whole thing. Got her face. Plates already snapped, she said. We filed everything we had with prosecutor Olivia Tan. The new evidence showed coordinated fraud, cross-state interference with custody, multiple false identities. All sisters. all running variations of the same scam. And the worst part? They were still out there, still operating. The next day, Lena got a call from a contact in the local school board. "You need to come down here," the woman whispered. "We think one of the new part-time counselors is. Well, she's not who she says she is." When we arrived, they showed us the name tag, Vera M. Halbert. A photo revealed the truth. It was Vera Mirage. Different wig, same con. We missed her by 10 minutes. She had been sitting with my kids' classmates, reviewing behavior logs, planning next steps. That was the moment we realized this wasn't just about conning adults. They were going after the next generation, ours, and they were playing the long game. The text came at 3:17 a.m. "Celia, unknown number, I remember now. It wasn't all lies. Come alone. I need you." No emojis, no hearts, just that. Lena thought it was bait. Mitch agreed, but I couldn't ignore it, so I brought backup. Jonathan Petty, a retired sheriff's deputy and longtime friend, met me in the parking lot of the Serenity Falls Behavioral Clinic at dawn. He came with a GoPro pinned to his jacket and a quiet hand resting on the butt of a concealed weapon. "You sure you're ready for this?" he asked. "I don't think I've been ready for anything for months," I said. "Let's go." The clinic was quiet, but too quiet. The receptionist looked nervous when I gave my name. She tapped something under the desk before gesturing toward the east wing. "She's awake," she said. "Room B14. We walked past murals of waterfalls and affirmations. "You are your own light. Healing is non-linear. Breathe, believe, begin," and rounded a corner just in time to see two women in nurse scrubs flanking the hallway. They were too stiff, too alert. Jonathan leaned in. "Those aren't nurses." I nodded, heart pounding. One of them smiled too brightly. "Mr. Mercer, this way. She's waiting." "I'd like to speak with the attending physician first," I said, not moving. The taller one smiled dimmed. "There's no need." She requested privacy. Jonathan clicked his GoPro on and raised his phone. "Actually," he said, "we're live streaming. Legal protection." That did it. Both women stiffened. The taller one lunged, but not at me. She reached into her pocket and sprinted toward room B14. We bolted after her. Inside the room, Celia was sitting upright, dazed and slow-moving. And four hung from her arm. The second nurse, Celine, now fully unmasked, was drawing something into a syringe. Jonathan burst in. "Drop it." Celine froze mid-draw, then moved. Fast. Jonathan lunged and knocked the syringe from her hand. It hit the floor and shattered. Celia blinked, disoriented, as Celine shoved past us and ran out the side door. We gave chase but lost them in the maze of laundry halls and service corridors. Security was already locking the building down. By the time real staff arrived, the fake nurses were gone, but their trail wasn't. They'd left behind forged ID badges, swipe cards linked to maintenance areas, a burner phone filled with encrypted voice memos, and most chilling of all, logs of patient histories, family addresses, and a checklist labeled Target Families. Celia was sedated but stable. She didn't send that message, the clinic director said after reviewing footage. She hasn't had phone access in 2 days. Someone used her account to lure you in. Lena arrived 30 minutes later. She took one look at the footage and called Olivia Tan. "We have their faces, their voices, and proof of infiltration," Lena said. "They've been embedded for months, stealing patient information and scouting children. They've escalated," Olivia replied grimly. "Now it's not just fraud. It's conspiracy to commit harm." The clinic agreed to press charges. So did the families of other compromised patients. That night, Jonathan posted the footage of Celine trying to inject Celia. It went viral within hours. Suddenly, the Mirage sisters weren't ghosts anymore. They were suspects. Known, named, hunted. And for the first time since this began, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we had a shot at stopping them. The phone rang during dinner. Lena picked it up, glanced at the screen, and immediately put it on speaker. "Daniel Mercer," a voice said, cool and clipped. "Let's not waste time. You know who I am." I didn't need to ask. It was her, Serenity Mirage, the last sister, the one nobody had seen up close. The one they said was the cold one, the planner. "You've done a lot of damage," she said calmly, "and now you're going to undo it." Lena didn't speak. I stepped forward. "I'm listening." "Celia's trust fund," Serenity said. "You'll sign it over. And the assets tied to Kenneth Vega's estate, those two. We know you've been assisting Olivia Tan. That ends now." I stared at the speaker. "Or what?" She didn't pause. "Or your children disappear." Lena's hand gripped the table's edge. Serenity kept going. "We have eyes on Addie and Ben. We know the school, the pickup routine, the names of the teachers. You think you're building a case, but all you're doing is poking a family that knows how to disappear." Lena leaned in. "You're not as invisible as you think." Serenity exhaled a quiet laugh. "You think this is about exposure? We've been exposed before. We always adapt. Why call it all?" I said. "Why not vanish like the rest?" "Because we like closure," Serenity said. "And we know when someone's gotten too loud to be left alone. You've got 48 hours. After that, we stop playing chess." The call disconnected. No threats. No curse words. Just strategy. Clinical. I didn't move. Then Lena stood, grabbed a notebook, and walked to the whiteboard in my living room. "No more defense," she said. "We go offensive." That night, our house became a war room. Photos of each Mirage sister went up on the board. Celine, Vega, Vera, Marla, Serenity. We mapped their movements, their cover businesses, old aliases, bank transfers, We found breadcrumbs, wellness payments to shell companies in Delaware, donations to therapy nonprofits that didn't exist, encrypted messages stored in burner phones. Uncle Mitch joined us at midnight. He brought two things, whiskey and a flash drive. I found their old P.O. box registrations. Serenity used to go by Drive S, Reeves in Vermont. We cross-checked it with Celia's digital therapist logs. There it was, an evaluation, reviewed by Dr. Reeves weeks before the supplements began. We had the link. The next day, Lena called Olivia Tan. We want to flip the board, she said. Not just charge them, trap them. Tan didn't hesitate. Then let's bait them. The plan was risky, but brilliant. Celia, now lucid, detoxed, and angry, would make contact. She'd say she was ready to rejoin the sisters. She'd say Daniel was going to transfer the trust after all. The sisters would want confirmation. All of them would come. Tan would make sure they didn't leave. Lena closed her notebook and looked at me. We're not just saving your kids, she said. We're burning the whole web. That night, I kissed Addie and Ben on the forehead. They were safe with friends across town, unaware of what was coming. But I wasn't scared anymore. Because for the first time since this nightmare started, we were setting the trap. And this time, they were walking into it. The Mirage sisters couldn't resist ceremony. That was their weakness. So when Celia, clear-eyed and shaking but committed, reached out to them with a simple message, he's ready. The money's ready. I just want out. They responded in under 2 hours. Serenity arranged the meeting. Private dining room. Ridgeview Country Club. The same polished place where Vega first inserted herself into our family's life as Celia's soft-spoken performance coach. This time, Celia wasn't the student. She was the bait. We wired her up with a mic. Lena and Jonathan watched from a nondescript catering truck nearby, while Olivia Tan and 2 U.S. Marshals prepped in an unmarked van down the drive. My hands shook as I double-checked the signal feed on the laptop. You sure about this? I asked Celia, right before she stepped out of the vehicle. She nodded. They ruined me. My brain. My marriage. They try to make me forget who I was. I want to look them in the eye when it ends. The dining room was pristine. White linen, gold flatware, towering windows that overlooked the 18th green. And then they arrived. All of them. Hope Mirage, the oldest, came first, dressed like a diplomat, posture straight and eyes sharp. Then Serenity, hair slicked back in a severe twist, clipboard in hand like she ran the country. Vera and Marla followed, smiling too brightly, the kind of over-polished grin you see right before the scam hits. Celine came last, wearing the same nurse sneakers she'd worn while trying to inject my wife. They hugged Celia, called her sweetheart, offered herbal tea and contracts. Let's talk details, Serenity said. Celia's hands trembled as she slid the fake paperwork across the table, an asset transfer document for her trust and custody reassignment agreements for Addie and Ben. Is this what it takes? She asked, voice cracking. To be back in the circle? Of course, Hope said, smoothing her napkin. This is legacy. We're just reclaiming what was taken from us. That word, legacy, it stuck. Outside, Olivia Tan leaned toward the radio. Get ready. They're slipping. Inside, Celia played her final card. Why my family? She whispered. Why me? Hope leaned back, smiling like a queen with a checkmate. Because you were easy, she said. Daniel was stable. That made him predictable. And Lena? A problem, but too proud to go public. We've done this before. But you, she tilted her head. You wanted to belong. Serenity added. We chose you because you had reach, influence, money. We could take the children, the assets, the name. She smiled. And we almost did. That was it. Olivia's voice came sharp through the radio. Move in. Agents burst into the room from both sides. Serenity's chair clattered to the floor as she stood, stone-faced. Hope tried to grab the papers. Marla backed into a wall. You're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, custodial interference, and federal racketeering, an officer shouted. Celine tried to run. Jonathan was faster, tackled her by the bar cart. Celia stood frozen as it all unfolded around her. Cameras flashing, wrists cuffed, officers reading rights like a drumbeat. Serenity didn't resist. As they put the cuffs on her, she looked straight at Celia and said, this won't end with us. We're not the disease. We're the vaccine. Then she smiled. Tell Daniel, she added, he didn't win. He just slowed the storm. But she was wrong. Because for the first time since they slithered into our lives, we weren't the ones being watched. They were. The trials came quickly after the arrest. When you've got 5 women in handcuffs, 27 victims testifying, and mountains of surveillance footage, there's only so much the Mirage sisters could do to stall. Federal RICO charges, multiple counts of identity fraud, custodial interference across state lines. The headlines didn't mince words. Mirage network crumbles in conspiracy arrest. Wellness cult targets wealthy families. 5 women charged. Serenity, Vega, Hope, Vera, Celine. Every one of them was denied bail. Olivia Tan made sure of that. Celia, sober and steady now, testified at every hearing. She didn't cry. She didn't stammer. She walked into those courtrooms like a woman dragging her own ghosts into the light. I thought they were my family, she said once on the stand. But they were only ever my keepers. She started working with Tan's office as a victim liaison, helping other families untangle similar schemes. Turns out the Mirage network had copycats, Other coaches, guides, and counselors still floating around with fake degrees and real damage behind them. The kids came home soon after. Addie was quiet at first. She didn't talk much, but she let me braid her hair again. Ben asked me if he could sleep in my room the first night, just in case Vega tries to come back. I told him she wouldn't, that we had made sure of it. The school board fired the entire wellness consultant team. Clean sweep. Lena even helped write the new guidelines for outside contractors, background checks, credential verification, full transparency, no more blind trust. She also started a support group, families who got fooled. It sounded like a bad game show at first, but people showed up. Moms, dads, a few aunts and uncles. All of them had the same look in their eyes, like they were trying to wake up from something they didn't realize was a nightmare. Things started to feel normal again. We planted tomatoes in the backyard. Celia made chicken soup from scratch. I taught Ben how to throw a proper spiral. It didn't happen overnight. Healing never does. But we were on the way. Then, one morning, I found a letter in the mailbox. No return address. No stamp. Just tucked inside like someone knew our schedule. Inside was a single card, blank except for 5 words. You stopped us. For now. And on the back, we are many. I stared at it for a long time, then walked back inside, slipped it into the drawer with the rest of the case documents, and locked it. Not because I was scared, because I wasn't. We were ready now. We knew what to look for. The fake smiles. The vague credentials. The promises that feel too perfect to be true. Addie was in the garden when I stepped outside, her tiny hands patting soil around a seedling. Ben was chasing a grasshopper. I sat down beside them. Whatever came next, whoever else thought they could worm their way into our lives, we were watching now. And this time, we'd see them coming.